Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, alongside my co-host, Ajay Cybulski, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, and in this case, Baltimore, after a just pathetic 35-10 defeat for the Bills, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, a miserable night for Bills fans here at M&T Bank Stadium. The Ravens brought darkness over the stadium to begin pregame warm-ups. Really a fine pregame atmosphere here and excitement brewing for a big Sunday night football game. And didn't take long for the Ravens to really take all the excitement out of the building for Bills fans. 87-yard touchdown for Derrick Henry on their first play from scrimmage. And it was really all downhill from there for the Bills. They showed signs of life during that third quarter to begin the second half, but then a questionable play call from Joe Brady, the trick play with Curtis Samuel and the Wildcat, flipping it to Josh Allen, causing a fumble lost. And that was really all she wrote for the Bills. Your thoughts on this one, AJ? Like I said, a dismal effort put forth by Buffalo after a really strong 3-0 start.
Yeah, it was definitely not an ideal start right from the get-go for the Bills in this one. Derrick Henry untouched to the house for 87 yards and still showcasing he has a lot left in the tank for, I think, a team, the Ravens, that will be a force to reckon with come playoff time. And I think they're a team that can get hot and, you know, be a successful team. So I want to preface all this with saying that the Bills were going into a tough environment tonight against a team that really needed a victory, starting the season 1-2, a disappointing loss to the Raiders earlier in the season at home. So there was a lot to, I should say, well, a lot on the line for this Ravens team in terms of where they were at the season. Again, the Bills 3-0, now dropping to 3-1. It definitely was, again, in all three phases of this game. I think the Bills were absolutely dominated. You know, Tyler Bass missed the kick. So even the special teams, Brandon Codrington muffed the punt, but thankfully recovered it. But still, there were some special teams woes. The defense was just unable to stop Lamar in that first half in that Ravens offense. It really felt like, you know, those 3 touchdown drives, whether Lamar wanted to use his legs, whether it was Justice Hill out of the backfield, eluding or avoiding Bills tacklers. It was just a tough go for the Bills defense. And then offensively as well, I think this Bills offense just could not get it going. Only 90 total yards in the first half, just 3.1 yards per play, 1 of 7 or 1 of 8 on third down. So they just couldn't get anything sustained offensively. And then, like you mentioned, the play call there with Joe Brady in that third quarter, when it felt like the Bills were gathering some momentum, you take the risk, and sometimes high risk, high reward, and that's kind of where they went with that. And Samuel made the play. I don't know how it looked downfield. I'm interested to see what the play looked like down the field. But again, Kyle Van Noy blew that one up, and he's really started well for this Ravens team. So all in all, just a lackluster performance for a Buffalo team that really started the year hot and on fire, and hope maybe this is a wake-up call for them.
Yeah, a lot of concerns in this one to dive into. It was the Bills' first defeat of over 6 points in 43 games. The Bills' last defeat that was decided by more than 6 points came in a 41-15 loss to the Indianapolis Colts in Week 11 during the 2021 season. So the Bills have been very competitive even in their defeats for the past several seasons. This one, obviously, not the case, just a complete blowout with Baltimore dominating the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that really leading to a tough day for the Bills on both sides of the ball. Baltimore at 2-2 now. They record 22 first downs in this game, 8.3 yards per play. They limit the Bills offense to 4.1 yards per play and 3 of 13 on third down. Josh Allen had just 42 yards passing in the first half. That was his lowest total since, let me find it for you,
Week 6 2020 season.
Week 6 of the 2020 season. So just a disgusting first half put forth by the Bills, like I said, on both sides of the ball. And it all started up front on the line of scrimmage. The Bills offense allowing Allen to be sacked 3 times in this one, but he was really running for his life throughout the game. The Bills' offensive line looked like one of the best in football through 3 weeks. And in week 4, it looked like perhaps one of the worst in football against this Baltimore Ravens front. And on the defensive side, just no impact from the Bills' front 4 in that first half. Henry, obviously, with the 87-yard romp, but no pressure on Lamar Jackson during that first half, and it allowed him really freedom to roam as he pleased in this one. And then at the second level, the Bills' linebackers, I thought, really struggled, particularly to defend the screen pass. Justice Hill ends up with a big game in this one. But let's start up front, AJ. It was just a really, really tough game for the Bills' offensive line and defensive line, 2 areas that showed signs of promise through 3 weeks, but really a step back here this evening.
Yeah, I think offensively, to start with the offensive line, and not only was it, I think some of the Ravens defenders along their line, they have some really talented players up front beating the Bills' offensive line in one-on-one, but I think it was a lot of those disguised, blitzes from this Ravens defense led by Zach Orr, a new defensive coordinator. I was just really impressed with how the Ravens were really disguising it, kind of confusing the Bills' offensive line. And at some points, there was not enough hands on the Bills' offensive line to pick up what the Ravens were throwing at them, and they would bring in these free rushers and kind of get a free shot in Allen. And like you said, it felt like even though Allen was only sacked 3 times, which is still, the most of any game this season, it still felt like he was running around for his life and still avoided a couple of those sacks, a couple of throwaways toward the right boundary. Obviously completed that long pass to Shakir, which is probably the highlight of the game in terms of what the Bills did offensively. Really their only splash play. There were a couple back shoulder throws to Coleman in that second half, but of the big splash plays that really mattered, I would say the Shakir play was really the one that comes to mind. And then defensively, this defensive line, it felt like, in the first half, they were just not getting home with 4. Greg Rousseau wasn't really winning. Von Miller was having trouble getting to Lamar. Lamar was really using his legs when he wanted to and could really stand in that pocket halftime, find the soft spot in the zone. And really, I think the secondary as well, these safeties, there's going to be a big discussion to be had after this week with what went on back there at that third level. I thought they were really exposed tonight as well. And then, like you mentioned, the linebacker.
Taylor Rapp obviously lost with that concussion, led to Cole Bishop coming in and playing meaningful snaps on defense for the first time. So, yeah, safety certainly a concern.
Yes. So, this defensive line I just thought struggled. And then the second half, Bobby Babich dials it up, right? Brings some pressure up the middle, forces the intentional grounding on the opening drive. Dorian Williams got some pressure and Jackson just threw it basically to the sideline with no one there. So obviously didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. And I think he was still in the tackle box. So either way, intentional grounding. And then they get off the field. Balin Spector also had a nice sack in that second half. So they did make some adjustments in the second half. But again, it wasn't because of the defensive line and them winning those battles up front. It was more so Bobby Babich feeling like he was not getting enough in the first half. And Lamar Jackson was really picking them apart in those zones, the zone defense that the Bills play and that nickel defense. And they felt like they had to bring up that pressure up front. So I thought the defense played more inspired in the second half. But again, just when you thought the Bills were going to get some momentum, they really, hurt themselves. And it turned out to be an absolute blowout there at M&T Bank Stadium.
And coming into this game, the Bills knew that they would have to slow Derrick Henry in order to have a good chance to win this one. And they just were not able to do so. Henry runs wild, 24 carries, 199 yards rushing, including that 87-yard romp for a touchdown. Had a couple other long gains as well. I mentioned Justice Hill also had a strong performance. They did not defend the running back very well, did the Bills. Dorian Williams and Balin Spector, I thought, really struggled in the first half. Came on a little bit later. Dorian Williams with a punch out, Spector with a recovery, and then you mentioned Spector and Williams both getting some pressure in that second half. But I thought overall it was a tough day for those two, particularly in coverage, and it led to a big day for Justice Hill in the receiving game. 6 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown for Hill. He was really, really benefiting from that screen game. And it seemed like in that first half, the Ravens called 10 to 15 screen passes. And like I said, just positive plays on every single one of them. And I think a big reason for that was Williams and Spector being caught out of position.
Yeah, they were definitely using, a lot of motion, right, to put the Bills linebackers in uncomfortable situations, right? You look at some of the plays, they fake Henry to the right on a run and throw it back to the left side to do a quick screen for a receiver. Drag the majority of the Bills defense to that right side, and that gives you some advantages on the outside with that receiver. So I think the Ravens were just kind of doing whatever they wanted in that first half to this Bills defense, and the inexperience of not only the linebackers but the lack thereof, or the lackluster performance from the Bills defensive line just really showed in this one. And I think all 3 levels of the defense were just beat. And again, they tried to hang on in the second half and they tried to, figure it out. And and try and figure some ways out. Bobby Babbage did, but it just wasn't enough. And again, this Ravens offense is just so explosive. They can do it in so many ways. Like you mentioned, the screen game was killing them. They picked up on one drive, a 3rd and 11 and a 3rd and 15 to sustain the drive. So even when the Bills were getting into those 3rd and long situations, they could just not get off the field. And it just felt like, again, they could never get out of their own way. And that's how you end up with a 35-time loss. And you got to really, come back and look at this one and move on and move on to a Houston team that, again, had to come from behind victory today over Jacksonville and put your best foot forward there.
As bad as the defense was tonight against the Ravens, the offense certainly was equally as pathetic. It took 22 plays for the Bills to surpass the yardage gained by Henry on his 87-yard rushing touchdown. Baltimore recorded 10 plays of 10 or more yards during the first 2 quarters of play. The Bills the Bills offense failed to record a single play of 10-plus yards throughout the first half. So it was really a tough slog for Allen and company throughout that first half. Really nothing was working. James Cook, who has been the spark for this team, he couldn't find any room to run. Dalton Kincaid, a drop on 3rd down early in this game, really impacted things. Keon Coleman, a deep drop down the sideline, could have been a 40-yard gain. That goes in and out of his hands. So just all in all, a tough performance by the Bills offense. And like I said, it started up front, but it certainly didn't end there. I thought Allen looked uncomfortable, kind of out of sorts all night long. Perhaps that's due to the pressure, but not his best performance. And then, like I said, the Bills pass catcher certainly not helping things. Khalil Shakir did set a new NFL record. It's now up to he set the new record at 30 straight targets caught before dropping not completing his 4th target. But that was really the lone bright spot for the Bills offense. Shakir finished with, I believe, over 60 yards receiving, a big 52-yard reception to set them up for that first touchdown in the 3rd quarter. or their lone touchdown in the 3rd quarter, I should say. But not much to write home about from this Bills offense here tonight. Just all in all, poor effort.
Yeah, and I think we can definitely question the 4th and 2 on the opening drive from midfield. I thought the Bills have done a really good job all season of converting those 4th and shorts. And Sean McDermott decided to punt, and then the ensuing play was an 87-yard house call for Derrick Henry. And then later in that game, I got another decision by McDermott to punt on 4th and 1 from their own 39-yard line. And again, the Ravens scored on the first 3 possessions of the half, so the Ravens went down and scored again. So I think the Bills' offense, again, could not find a rhythm, and those couple 4th and short decisions by McDermott were interesting because I think, I don't know exactly what he said word for word, but kind of he said like that's how the vibe of the game was going. And
he said the 4th and 2 early was it was too early in the game. He thought to go for it at that point. And then the 4th and 1 later in the game, it was a full yard, and he thought that was too long of a distance for them to go for it in that situation.
Right, which is understandable in a sense, but I mean, understanding the environment and how your offense is playing and what your defense just allowed, I think there could have been maybe a spark created from going for a 4th down and maybe converting to find a rhythm and get into Baltimore territory and try and find some points in that opening half. So again, an uninspiring performance. Like you said, James Cook couldn't really get it going. Josh Allen was just kind of he was never comfortable tonight in that pocket. He was always, on the run or trying to find a guy. And there were a couple of times where he got through his reads and found the right guy and looked poised. But as the game went on, I think it just got worse and worse. And as the more desperate the Bills got to find points, the worse it got. So again, it was just a complete kind of domino effect thing. And this Bills offense just really struggled to get it going. I thought Keon Coleman, I think there were a couple of bright spots from him in that second half of those back shoulder throws where you really see what he is capable of despite that first half drop. So I think there's something there with him too that maybe they can try and look for moving forward. But I think there's not enough of Curtis Samuel for what they've given him in the offseason. I need to see more of him in this Bills offense, and they utilize him more because there just hasn't been enough for a guy at what they paid him. And then again, these Bills tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, I think he's done a good job, but I still expect more, as well as Dawson Knox. I need to see more out of those 3 guys for this offense to really take that next step, in my opinion.
Yeah, I haven't seen nearly enough from Dalton Kincaid to start this season. All the talk this offseason, he was going to be the team's wide receiver 1, this, that, and the other thing. He has yet to surpass 50 yards on the season, and he's off the field, in my opinion, way too often on critical downs. Dawson Knox out there, I think, a little bit too much. If you're not going to run 2 tight ends, I think the one tight end on the field has to be Dalton Kincaid almost all the time. Just what he presents in the passing game, his more impressive ability to put forth those splash plays than a Dawson Knox and get open down the field. I'm not sure why the Bills are using Dawson Knox, what appears to be kind of in a filtering role with Kincaid in those critical situations. I think you have to go way more Kincaid heavy as this season goes along. But yeah, I've been unimpressed with Kincaid. He dropped that ball on 3rd down. That was a big drop early in the game, and really set the tone poorly for the Bills offense. Before we get too deep into this podcast, let us thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics in At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. All right, AJ, let's talk about the wild play call from Joe Brady early in that 3rd quarter. The Bills come out, they score a touchdown, look to have the momentum. They get another stop right after that, look to have the momentum, like I said, and then Joe Brady, a ridiculous play call, lines up Curtis Samuel at the Wildcat, flips it to Josh Allen on what appeared to be a reverse pass attempt. Allen stripped as he's trying to go deep down the field, ends up hurting his back on the play as well. Baltimore takes over on offense, and that was really all she wrote, the final nail in the coffin, really, for the Bills. And just I struggle to understand the play call in that situation. The first half not working, first half offensively, nothing working for you, and then you finally get to some semblance of rhythm in that second half, and then you decide to pull that out of your back pocket. I'm not sure that was the right time. Sean McDermott asked about it after the game, said he and Joe Brady are going to have to talk about that one, and it's something to learn from. And he also admitted that it was quite the momentum shift for the Ravens. So I'm just not sure what Joe Brady was thinking on that play. He's certainly called a quality offense through 3 weeks, but today not his shining moment. And another aspect of today's game plan that I thought was lacking that we saw the first 3 weeks, not a lot of use of motion. I'm not sure the numbers today, but the Bills were, I believe, in the top 5 in the league in motion entering this week, maybe using, I think, 80% of their plays with motion. And today it didn't seem to be the case at all. So a lot of questions for Joe Brady after this one. Interested to talk to him, I believe, tomorrow or this morning, or today, I should say, over Zoom.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Like it's tough because I think it's always like you can look back at it right now in hindsight and say like it was the stupidest call ever, and I could totally understand like why someone would think that. I totally don't agree with it, right? I think it's an unfortunate call, especially with the way the Bills' offense was kind of trending up in that second half, and you feel like just get it done, like put it in Josh Allen's hand in that situation and just let him get the first down. I also felt in the first half that they weren't really trying to push it down the field. It almost felt like they were trying to really like specify on like these sustained long drives, just getting enough yardage to move the sticks. And then it cost them, like I said, on that 3rd and 1 in that first half where they did like the read option and the Ravens defender blew it up and Allen somehow got rid of it to Knox, but he was short of the sticks. It just felt like they never really tried to push it or be aggressive. And then when they try and get aggressive in the second half, it backfires and turns into a disaster. So I think Joe Brady, this is a learning thing for him. It'll be interesting to see how he responds next week against Houston. But yeah, again, I think it was a bad play call in that situation. You have Josh Allen and let him do it. Let him go get it and get that first down or whatever the case may be. Don't put them in that situation. But again, it's hard in hindsight to say it was a bad call because I think, again, it didn't work. So, and it was Allen the coffin. So it's tough, but again, at the end of the day, they're going to have to learn from it.
And another concerning aspect of this game, another missed field goal for Tyler Bass. Not even close, wide left. He did connect on a 50-yard field goal during the first half, but missed a 48-yarder wide left during the second half. He also missed a 48-yard attempt during Buffalo's Week 2 win over the Miami Dolphins. So the Bills worked out some kickers this past week, or maybe it was the week before. All these weeks kind of blending together now, but the concerns over Tyler Bass are going to continue to linger, and this miss today will continue to fuel concerns regarding his reliability amongst Bills fans. Sean McDermott after the game still says he's confident in Tyler Bass, but if he continues to miss these field goals, I'm not sure how much longer you can let it go, because it's just a matter of time before one of these misses really costs you.
Yeah, second miss of the season. Again, it was a bad miss. You could tell right when he kicked it that it was going left, and he's gonna have to. I don't know what the Bills are gonna do. I mean, that is a huge kind of looming thing that they might have to address sooner rather than later. Again, you go back to the Kansas City game. That's really where his career has changed, because I don't think really he missed 2 kicks. But if he doesn't miss that Kansas City kick, I don't know if we're here right now, but that kick was such a pivotal miss that everything is so – every time he makes a mistake, it's so heightened. And, again, it was just kind of like the icing on the cake for this Bills performance. Maybe you could have hung your head on hey, Tyler Bass made a 50-yarder and a 48-yarder in the loss. That's a good positive, right? But then, again, he goes out there. He makes the 50-yarder early in the game and then follows that up with a shank from 48. So, again, nothing was going right. And after 3 weeks of everything going right, it seemed, for this Bills team, especially from the second half of that Cardinals game till the end of that Jacksonville game, it just feels like everything went wrong for this Bills team. And again, that's the NFL. That's the beauty of it. You watch it week in, week out, turn on Red Zone. You see teams blow big leads. You see teams one week look great and the next week look awful. And that's just how the NFL goes. And you're going to have to sustain these gut punches. And again, it's always the team that can sustain those gut punches that will, be in it at the end of the year. So that's what the Bills are going to have to do moving forward if they want to, continue to be this number one team in the AFC East, which at this point, it seems like that's still a very realistic goal, and they're still in a good spot. 3-1 after 4 weeks. I think a lot of Bills fans would take that if you want to look at it in a positive light.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think if anybody expected this team to run through the season without some bumps in the road along the way, I think you were kidding yourself. The way the first 3 weeks went, and we said it this week, the Bills looked like the best team in football through the first 3 weeks. Obviously, today they looked like one of the worst teams in football, and that's just the way the game goes sometimes. And you kind of have to evaluate these things as they come. After those first 3 weeks, you're riding high, everything is going right, and then after this week, everything goes wrong. You kind of have to take it for what it is and kind of not overreact one way or the other. Now, that's going to be very difficult after a game like this. You get blown out against the Ravens, and the way they did it, running it down your throat when you knew that's what they were going to try to do, and having no answer for it, not being able to move the ball offensively throughout the first half. It's going to be tough for Bills fans not to overreact to this the same way that many of them overreacted to the 3-0 start. Maybe myself guilty of that as well. But like I said, I don't think this team is built to go through the entire season, cruise through without any bumps in the road. I think these are going to come, and it's going to be a matter of them kind of picking up the pieces and going week to week and not letting things snowball. And that's going to lead to whether or not this Bills team is going to reach the heights that they want to this year.
100%. The second that you get comfortable in this league, you get punched in the mouth, and the Bills were punched in the mouth tonight in Baltimore. And again, that's a team that they will see if they do continue to have success throughout the rest of the season and maintain, a 3-1 record for every quarter of the way. That's a pretty good clip at the end of the year. You're looking at a team that you might face off against come January. So you got to figure it out. You got to make sure that you're still all together. It's still that good culture that the Bills have created, Sean McDermott has created. You got to see how you respond. And if you can go into Houston next week, get the bad taste out of your mouth, big revenge game. A lot of people have circled that on the calendar as a big one. Obviously, the return for the Bills' former wide receiver. So there's a lot to digest this next week. It'll be interesting to hear from the coaching staff, the players throughout the week leading up to this game, following this game, and just how they kind of respond and what team they look like. Is it going to be the team that we saw tonight, or will it be the team that we saw in the first 3 weeks? And maybe it's going to be a mixture. It's not every game. They're not going to be dominating teams, I should say, like they were the first 3 weeks, and they're probably not going to be demolished like they were in week 4, but trying to find that happy medium, going through the blows, going punch for punch with the team, and that's going to come down to it. You got to win those one-score games, and once they're put in those situations, like they were in week 1 against Arizona, they need to come out on top.
Yeah, this week 5 game against the Houston Texans was always going to be a big one. It was one that many fans and I'm sure Bills players and coaches alike circled on their calendars leading into the season. And after tonight's performance, it's taken on even more importance for the Bills. They really need a bounce-back performance. And going up against a tough Texans team with the Stephon Diggs storyline, this, that, and the other thing, it's really going to be a critical week for the Bills. And where do we see them right now? They're one of 3-1 teams in the AFC. Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, the only team at 4-0. They did lose their top receiver, Rashee Rice. So they're without him, Isaiah Pacheco, and Hollywood Brown, 3 key pieces for them offensively. We'll see where they go as the season goes. But once again, 4-0. Texans 3-1. Steelers 3-1. The Jets lost a tough one today. The Ravens improved to 2-2. I still think this is probably a top 3 team in the AFC. If you look at it that way, maybe top 4, top 5. But this game doesn't completely diminish the expectations that I have for them this season after those first 3 games. But it certainly makes me second guess the lofty praise that I was heaping on them throughout the week. And also this week, if they're to put up another stinker against the Texans, that could really, really change my opinion of this team heading into week 6 against the Jets.
Yeah, I still think the Bills are one of the best teams in the AFC. And, they had a chance, I think, to cement themselves as the best team in the AFC tonight. And again, that was not the case. That did not occur. So I think they're still, again, a top 3, top 4, top 5 team. Put them in that category, maybe a tier below the Chiefs and Ravens right now, just because, again, you look at all the Bills' losses and what they lost and what they put on tonight. You could still probably say the Ravens and Chiefs, they played earlier in the season, and it was a great game that came down to the wire. And I think Derrick Henry just presents a whole different monster for this Ravens offense. And they still have Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. Justice Hill seems like a nice complement to Derrick Henry and a secret kind of weapon for this Baltimore offense. So I would say right now the Ravens and Chiefs are ahead of the Bills. But, I mean, you put the Bills, Texans, all those teams kind of lumped together there in that second tier. I still put the Bills up there right at the top. And they're going to have to, prove themselves again against a Houston team that's right there with them at 3-1, that is won a couple of close games. They haven't looked that great, but they found ways to win. They just beat a Jacksonville team that the Bills beat by 37 points. But again, that's the NFL. It's week to week. Kind of throw that all out the window. And we'll see how each team looks this week. So they're still going to be, right there, I think, with all those teams. But again, definitely a blow taken by the Bills tonight with this big loss.
Before we get out of here, let's thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, AJ, that's going to do it for us here on the pod, right here, right now, live Buffalo Football Talk. Thanks to the people for tuning in. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It's on the Daily News YouTube channel. We could always use further interaction in that sense. But anything you'd like to add, AJ? Anything you think we forgot to touch on from this one here tonight? Like I said, I think we repeated it a million times. Just a dismal effort from the Bills.
Yeah, nothing much more to add. It was, again, from start to finish, just a very underwhelming performance for a team that looked so good, and things were so good in Buffalo, but it's going to be a gloomy day tomorrow in Western New York for many Bills fans that witnessed the absolute butt whooping of the Bills on Sunday night.
All right, that's going to do it for AJ. My name is Alex. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.